You're listening to the On the Bounce podcast, the show that is the ultimate source for all MLS fantasy news, tips, and everything else you need to dominate your leagues. Me, I'm JK, and I'm joined as always by my two hosts, Brady and Jarvis. Together, us three make up On the Bounce, and we're here to give you the best advice we can, along with some pretty great entertainment. Now, with all this out the way, let's jump right into today's episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the On the Bounce podcast. This is episode number 11. We are officially 7 podcasts deep. I'm JK, you know it. I've been here for all 7. Same for Brady, Gravy the Gaffer. What's going on, bub?
Moy lad, it's good to be back for episode 7 of the On the Bounce podcast.
Yes, it is great to be back. Hopefully I sound better than the last episode. I was in South Carolina all week, so the last 2 episodes I was recording on a little hustle and flow type setup from the movie, but now we're back. We're back on the normal setups. Normally, if you guys have been listening to us for a while, we also have a third host, Josh Jarvis, but he's gone right now. He is at the Cincinnati Reds opening day, so shout out to him for baseball watching.
Baseball?
He's the baseball watcher from the three of us. I'll have it in the background.
I didn't even know baseball was a sport, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll but anyway, we'll stick to football, to soccer. So today's episode is the Week 5 look ahead. So we're getting back into the key starters of the week, the key matchups of the week, and our captain's log, which is where we give you our captain's choice of the week. So it's a great episode, and if you missed last episode, episode 6, you still got time to go listen to it. That captured last week our thoughts on winners and losers, hidden gems, all types of good stuff, and you still got plenty of time to listen to that. Now, today is Friday, and before we jump into the segments, I want to remind you guys that there is a game tonight, 8 p.m., Toronto versus NYCFC, so make sure you're setting your lineups, you're keeping your peepers on the Toronto and New York boys so you don't miss out on that. You don't want to miss out on a game.
You don't.
That's about it, though, for news.
Big.
That is big, because I think that's the first Friday game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And everyone's back. Also news, everyone's back.
Yeah, everybody's back from international duty. Just be sure to keep an eye on the people coming back, because some of them might be getting rested. Some of them might not be starting, but they might still come in. So just be sure to follow us over on Twitter at OTBounce. We'll be sure to retweet and quote on all of the starting lineups to make sure you guys aren't missing anything, and same with us. So now, let's jump right into the big meat of the segment, the fantasy matchups of the week. This is a segment where we bring to you one key game each that we think is good for fantasy. Either, stuff like good matchups for players, good matchups for teams, bad matchups, all that good stuff. So, Brady, what is your fantasy matchup of the week?
I'm liking a lot of games this week. It's good to be back with more than 5 games. And I see a lot of opportunities this week for some clean sheets. I see a lot of opportunities for some big scoring opportunities. So it's hard to pick one, honestly. But I'm gonna stick with LAFC versus the San Jose Quakers. I'm picking on LA, or not picking on them, but I've been picking LAFC a lot this year just because I really like what they got going on over there. Like you said, there's a few guys who are possibly going to be out this week. It looks like midfielders Andrew Hota and Lee Win is going to be out again this week. So just keep that on your horizon. But I'm looking at some other guys like Edward Achuesta, 7.2 mil. Mark Anthony K, 8.1 mil to start in their absence in the midfield and get some points. I like those guys in the starting. Christian Ramirez is back from international duty. I don't think he actually played in the U.S. game, so we'll see if he, jumps back into the starting 11. Doesn't really. He's one of those guys that probably doesn't need the rest, like you said. Some of these other guys who played in international duty might need a day or a week. Also, Diamande sitting at 9.3 mil, always a good start if he's in the 11. Captain Carlos Vela, 12.3 mil, an easy captain's choice every single week, even on the road this week against San Jose. A few other guys I like. Rossi in the left wing, solid slot. I'm gonna go through each slot here. I love all these players. This is a big week for LAFC. They're gonna put up some points. They haven't had a shutout this year, but I'm liking their goalkeeper Tyler Miller, 5.5 mil. I think there's some potential here for a clean sheet. Yeah, he's cheap. They've been flirting with a clean sheet all year. They've held, 3 out of their last 4 opponents to 1 goal. That's the whole year, 4 opponents. Walker Zimmerman on defense. If he gets that clean sheet plus a goal like he did last week with that screamer to win the game, he's putting up 20 points. Latif Blessing playing all over the place. We'll see if he gets to start with everyone back from international duty, but there's a lot to love in this LAFC matchup against San Jose. And, there's some guys on San Jose I like too, like Dewando, the old man who's possibly going to put one in. But I like these LAFC boys a lot more. It's a good matchup to look into.
So you're saying, it's like when you in week 2 said start the Sounders and you hit it on all cylinders. You're saying start the LAFC boys this week.
That's what I'm saying, lad. That's what I'm saying.
I like it. And let me bring up one point on that. San Jose has the second worst defense in the MLS. They've allowed 9 goals in 3 weeks so far. So
it's good.
I'm with Brady on that. Start all of the all AFC boys. He mentioned a whole slew of them that are all great picks. I love it. Speaking of LA, my key matchup of the week is the rival of LAFC, LA Galaxy versus Portland Timbers.
We're all about the LA boys.
We're all about it this week. Now, I think this is going to be a great game to watch, like just strictly soccer-wise. Portland's a team that is one of the best teams on paper, but are still searching for their first win this year, and they're up against a good Galaxy side who's finally rumored, it's a rumor, to be getting back Ibra and Alessandrini this week. So those are 2 big-time players that could either feature in the 18 off the bench, or who knows, they might get rushed back into action if they're actually fine and ready to go. Now for fantasy, like Brady was saying about LAFC, I think both of these clubs have I know both of these clubs have a tendency to let a lot of goals in. So I don't see a clean sheet happening here. Galaxy have let in 5 goals in 3 games, and Portland have let in the league high 10 goals in 3 games. Like, Portland's defense is just trash. So this is a good day for like the Jonathan Dos Santoses, who I talk about later in the show. You got my boy Efrain Alvarez. Maybe he gets a cheeky start,
young boy.
Or maybe he's off the 18. And then, of course, like I was saying earlier, just keep your eye out come game day for the Galaxy's lineup, because if Ibra's on the bench or if Alessandrini's on the bench, or who knows, they could be starting. Yeah, those are some big-time players coming back. So I think that'll be a fun game, and I think it's going to be lots of goals, possibly for both sides. So we're liking the LA matchups this week. But like Brady said, now that we're back to normal, there's a ton of good games this week. I'm so happy that we get to watch MLS from Friday night to Sunday night instead of just those 5 games. So it'll be fun. But if you guys like any other key matchups this week, be sure to hit us up on Twitter at OTBounce. Let us know some of your key starts of the key matchups of the week, some games you're liking, some things you guys are seeing that might be exploited this week. We'd love to see it, and we'd love to hear you out on Twitter. So jumping right to the next segment, which is a great one, the Fantasy Starters of the Week. This is a segment where each of us are going to give you 3 key players that aren't our captain's choice that we think are must-starts this week and why. So Brady, why don't you go ahead, kick it off. Who's your first key starter of the week?
Okay. I'm going with a guy who I've picked previously, who's had kind of a rough year this year. Going with Graham Zusi in Sporting KC. They're facing off against the Montreal Impact, who'll be missing 2 key starters this week, Ignacio Piatti, and this isn't a for sure that they're missing him, but also Safir Taider. I don't know how to say his name. Zusi is a great pick this week. This guy is just a hound dog on defense. He gets up in the attack. He's an amazing passer, outstanding at defense, plays in the flipping wing, basically. And I'm just waiting for this man to explode and take over the defensive scoring in fantasy this year, just like he did last year when he finished as number 1 defender in fantasy scoring. I think this is the week. He's only 7.6 mil, which is a little bit expensive for a defender, but you got to factor in the offensive ability that he also brings to the table. He can pop in some goals. He can definitely rack up some assists. He's gone up 800K over the last 2 weeks that he's been active. I think he's going to keep rising in value, so it's a good value pick. And I think he's a guy that you're going to find in my starting 11 this week. Graham Zusi, I think he's a must-start.
I like it. I like it. You know, we've been preaching that all season long to get those defenders, especially those fullbacks like the Zeusies who get up in the attack. It's just such a good cheat code in fantasy. You get those clean sheet bonuses. You get the attacking bonuses. It's so nice. Like it's so nice. So like Brady said, it might be a little pricey for a defender, but boy, him getting involved in the attack counters that completely. Yeah, and I like that pick.
And one other thing that I'm saying, like you said, I definitely think this is an opportunity for a clean sheet. Big time. Yeah. So I'm seeing big points.
Big points from Zusi. I like it. Another guy who I think is in for a breakout week. Yeah. One of my key starters of the week is Mauro Manotas, the forward from Houston Dynamo. Now, if you're somebody who always looks for consistency in your fantasy players, my boy Double M is who you should get. So far this season in MLS, he's either scored a goal or assisted a goal in every single game. And he's yet to score under 6 fantasy points. So he's very consistent. You know what you're going to get from him. There kind of is a downside, and that's that he hasn't scored over 7 points. So he's had 6 points, 7 points, 6 points. Right. So that's what it is. And he's kind of pricey. He's 10 mil, or 10.1 to be exact. But he is a striker who always gets the goals. Last year, he scored 25 goals in all competitions for the Dynamo. And this year, he's already on pretty similar form. He's got 4 goals in MLS and CCL. So it's, he's looking like he's a guy that's going to get double-digit goals, probably more towards the 20. And I think this week is one of those weeks where he's going to break out and get double-digit points. He's kind of goal-dependent. He doesn't really, stuff the stat sheets like the Carlos Veas, the Wayne Rooneys, where they get a lot of passing. They do a lot of, key plays running the offense. Right. But he's a guy that always scores goals consistently, and this week he's up against the winless Rapids, who haven't kept a clean sheet all season. So I think it's a great matchup, and if you're looking for a consistent striker up top, he's a good pick at 10.1 mil. Mauro Manotas.
So you're saying
get him, boys.
There's gonna be a goal, and he's the most likely one gonna be there.
Exactly. It's just simple math.
That's just math. Science,
just break
math.
it down. Science, math. Mauro Manotas scoring a goal. That's what it equals. That's my formula. That's JK's formula. All right, Bub, who's one of your other key starters of the week?
All right, another guy I've been harping on this year a little bit, but kind of forgotten. Lucho Acosta, who was my captain's pick a few weeks ago, who had a good game that week when Wayne Rooney absolutely went off with the Hattie Girthwaite, a.k.a. hat trick. But I think he's a fantastic start this week. I mean, he's on DC United, who's undefeated, one draw this year. I'm thinking they're going for another clean sheet this week also, so start some of their defenders. They haven't let up a goal this year.
No, it's insane.
So it's just DC's impenetrable on defense, and that just feeds into their offense with Lucho and Wayne Rooney. The Lucho-Roo stack, who are just going to be dominant this year. I see this game going 2-0 to DC. Lucho's got 2 assists this year, 1 goal in 3 appearances, averaging 8.3 fantasy points per game. He's going to play the full 90. He's costing about 11.4 mil, which is a price I'm super willing to pay for a star midfielder who's going to get me a really high floor, a floor that I see as like 8 points minimum, and a really high ceiling where he's one of these midfielders that can put in a lot of goals. He put in a lot of goals last year. He's raised value by $900K so far this year, so another value pick. I see him going up a lot more. I think him and Rooney are putting in some goals this week, at least 1 or 2. Lucho is going to be a great captain's choice as well this week. Not mine, but a great captain's choice. You got to start Lucho. He's the guy.
Yeah, and it's like what you said about how DC hasn't given up a goal all year. That's insane. And since Lucho's a midfielder, he does get a 1 point clean sheet bonus for that. So, I mean, every point helps. So that's a big thing that they haven't let up a goal, and he's in the midfield, so he can get those extra points. True. A little rare fact about Lucho. I'm sure everybody knows, right before the MLS season started and before the winter transfer window closed, PSG was rumored in getting him and tried to get him before it closed. But now apparently the boys over in Turkey, Besiktas, are interested in signing him when his contract ends at the end of the season for MLS. So
are you yanking my chain?
His quality is just undeniable in fantasy and on the real pitch. I hope he doesn't leave because MLS needs to keep some of these, young stars. I think he's only like 24. Yeah. So like that'd be great if he could stay. But either way, that's just cool for MLS that we're producing gods from everywhere.
Truth.
So it's pretty lit. But yeah, I love that Lucho pick. And you can't go against DC United this week against Orlando. That's just another team that you could definitely pick 3 from and be fine with. So moving right on to one of my next key starters of the week. It's a guy I was talking about a little earlier when I was talking about the LA Galaxy, and that is Jonathan Dos Santos. It's another guy, like my first start of the week, who's a little bit pricey, but he's very solid and consistent. In the first 2 games of the season, JDS scored 5 points in both, but he was just a hair away from getting a couple more bonus points in the passing category, the key passes, tackles, balls recovered, stuff like that. And that's exactly what happened in week 3 when he ended up scoring 12. Now, coming into this week, he is 9.4 mil, but in the midfield, I think it's a great, safe start. And like Brady was talking about, good floors for Lucho. I think Jonathan's this week's around 7-8 points as well, and they are playing Portland, which I just said earlier has led up the most goals in the MLS. 10 goals in 3 games. It's just something you got to talk about. You want to play against it, I'll tell you that. So JDS this week, I think he's a great start in the midfield. Could get a goal. Definitely should probably get an assist against this leaky Portland defense, and it doesn't hurt that LA's back at home. So who knows what could happen, especially if Ibra comes back. He's going to be hungry for a goal, even if he comes in for 20 minutes off the bench.
True.
So I like JDS. I like a lot of Galaxy guys, but that is my key starter of the week for the Galaxy in the midfield.
That's big.
Who is your final key starter of the week, Brady?
All right, I've gone defender, midfield, and I'm going to give you lads a forward, who I think is a super solid start this week. It's going to start a little trend for the rest of the show for me. I'm picking Raul Ruidiaz, who's on the undefeated Seattle Sounders, who have just been absolutely dominant this season. They're back in action, and they're about to splatter all over Vancouver, big time.
Splatter?
This week. Splatter. This is the top attack in the MLS, lads. My guys put up 4 goals in their first game, 2 goals in their second game, 4 goals in their last game. That's a total of 10 points. Big maths. So we're talking here, Ruidiaz, 3 goals, 1 assist in the season. I mean, honestly, it's tough picking between Ruidiaz and JK's boy over there, Jomo Jordan Morris, who's also been fantastic this season. Yeah. Both of these guys have 3 goals, 1 assist. Tough to choose between them, but I'm going to get Ruidiaz is more expensive. He's at 11.2 mil. Jomo's at 9.3. I'm still leaning towards Ruidiaz just for the fact that he's where he's at in the field. He's the striker. He's going to be in the middle. He's going to be probably the target man, getting most of the attacking chances. And the Sounders are the early favorites to be the Supporters Shield champs. It's tough to pick anyone against them, especially when it's winless Vancouver, who have allowed 7 goals in 3 games. This is going to be a big week for Ruidiaz. He's got the man, the myth, the legend Nicholas Lodero behind him, who I might be talking about a little bit later.
Okay.
But I'm saying Ruidiaz, big week, 2 goals, the brace from Ruidiaz. I'm calling it right now.
Start him.
Start him.
Listen, I like that pick a lot, and I'll agree with the brace. And you know who's going to be giving him those assists?
Hell.
At least one is my key starter of the week. My last key starter of the week is for sure feeding 1 assist in. And that's my boy, Kelvin Leerdam.
Okay.
He's back, lads. The man who dominated fantasy in the first 2 weeks makes his way back to my key starters of this week. Now, I know the last time we saw Leerdam was in week 3, and he only scored 2 fantasy points, but he's still averaging 8 points a game this season, and he's still so ridiculously cheap for a defender that's like Brady's pick, Graham Zusi. 6.5 mil. He gets way up into the attack, and just like Brady said, he's a part of the team that has the most dominant attack in the MLS and also one of the best defensive teams in the MLS. So it's truly like a win-win, no-brainer for me. 6.5 mil, Kelvin Leerdam, the perfect defender that gets way up in fantasy. He gets those defensive bonuses, those clean sheet bonuses, and also he's got 2 goals on the season. So he's proven that he gets way up in the defender's box. He is all over the pitch. I think you got to start him and Graham Zusi. Get the double dip on the guys on defense who get everywhere.
I'm feeling that. But yeah,
I love those Sounders picks. I think they could get into a clean sheet and score a ton of goals. So it's going to be fun to watch. That's all I know. It's definitely going to be fun to watch Seattle just keep dumping this season.
Big week.
Exactly. So there is 6 key starters of the week for you guys. Normally, on normal podcast days, and especially on the Fridays where we do this, we give you 9. But like we mentioned earlier, our boy Josh Jarvis is missing, and we couldn't get his picks in. But there is 6, 3 from me, 3 from Brady. So hopefully you guys like those, and hopefully they pay off. If they do, shout us out on Twitter. And if they don't shout us out on Twitter, because don't slander our names.
Don't slander the name.
But anyway, let's move right on to our last segment of the show, which is the Captain's Log. Now, this is our, just a little short, sweet segment, but it's an important one. This is the segment where we give you who we think you should captain this week. Brady kind of hinted to it earlier in the show. This is a week since we're back on a big MLS schedule. You got a lot of key guys back. There's going to be a lot of people that you could potentially captain. He's thrown a couple out. Some of the guys we've said were our key starters. You could definitely make a case for captaining. But I'm going to go ahead and give you my captain's pick of the week. I'm a broken record player. It's Captain Carlos.
Carlos
Vela. You can't really go against him. I mean, he's averaging 10 points a game, which is 4th overall in fantasy. He's had those 16-point games. He's had those 14-point games. So if you captain him those week, he's getting you 30, 28. Like, he's just going to work. And just like Brady was saying in the very beginning, LAFC is on fire, and they're playing against San Jose, who has the 2nd worst defense in the league. So, truly, there's not much else I have to say about that. The offense runs through them. They're playing a bad team. Captain him, start him, just make sure he's in your 11, boys, and you won't be sorry.
You won't.
You won't be. All right, who's your captain of the week, Brady?
All right. Well, we've been talking about these Sounders putting up massive amounts of points. Let me give you a little insight into these Sounders. Jordan Morris, 3 goals. Raul Ruidiaz, 3 goals. Kevin Lairdam, 2 goals. Nicolas Lodero, 1 goal. Victor Rodriguez, 1 goal. They're spreading it out. You know who's at the center of this attack, though?
Hit me.
It's Nicolas Lodero. My guy's got 3 assists. And this week, with my captain's pick, I'm playing it a little bit safe. I don't see a guy. I mean, Carlos Vela is a great pick of captain. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna push him to the side for a second. There's no one outside of Vela that I'm feeling like extremely confident about in the forwards this week. So I'm gonna play a little bit safer with the midfielder in Big Nick Lodero. My guy, he's in the middle of the best attack in fantasy in MLS, like we've been saying. He's 12.3 mil, which is an easy price for me to captain my guy. I think he's an automatic 20 points. I think he's...
Wow.
You know her?
God, FaceTime. Zuck me.
Should I just start over from the...
Yeah, just start your...
Did you hear
fantasy
anything?
I heard right when you said, like, he's at the center of the attack, Lodero, then it just kind of went to death. So pretty much just do your whole segment.
Yeah, okay. All right, lad. We've been talking about this Seattle Sounders amazing attack, the number 1 attack in all of the MLS. Who's in the middle of that attack? It's the young man, Nicolas Lodero. Let me tell you about this. Jordan Morris, 3 goals. Rui Diaz, 3 goals. Kevin Lairdam, 2 goals. Lodero, 1 goal. Victor Rodriguez, 1 goal. This man is at the center of all these goals. He's coordinating everything. He's playing that 10 role. He's a false 9, just like my guy, AJ Tracy. He's got 3 assists this year. I think this man is just his automatic safe pick to get you 20 points if you captain him. He's going to get you 10 as a floor, no matter what. With the captain's pick, he's going to get you 20. He's 12.3 mil, which I'm definitely willing to pay for that safe of a selection. I'm really feeling the Lodero Rui Diaz stack this week. Throw him up there. I think Rui Diaz might have 2 goals in him, 1 goal at least. And then if you got Lodero getting that assist, you're going to stack up some points and really increase your value and get a big week and move up in those ranks this week. Big captain Nicolas Lodero, that's getting my armband this week. I think you boys should throw him in.
I love it. Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with the Sounders and the LAFC offenses this week. Those are the 2 big boys that are coming back this week, and you got to go with them.
They're hungry.
Yeah, it's going to be a great week for fantasy. There's going to be a lot of points. Last week the average MLS fantasy points per team was 31. I think this week it's going to get back to normal. It's going to be back in the 80s. I'm hoping we put up 90 again like we have in our previous weeks, and we keep climbing those ranks. All right, boys and girls, for listening, that is our starters of the week, our matchups of the week, and our captain's log choices of the week. So now we'll move on to the outro. Is there anything you want to touch on or anything we forgot to talk about before we close this out, Brady?
I think we kind of glossed, or we didn't gloss, there's a lot of games this week, but I like this Columbus Crew Atlanta United game, just from a pure MLS standpoint. I'm interested to see if Atlanta can go into Columbus and do anything after Columbus looked kind of weak last week. I'm just liking that matchup, and then obviously our boys FCC against Philadelphia. What are you feeling for these games? You feeling any score predictions for me?
Yeah, I like that you pointed out that Crew Atlanta game, because that was almost my key matchups of the week, because Columbus, I think, is going to come out back at home like firing to prove that point that they're not, as bad as they looked last week. I'm hoping it was just because of, international duty, key pieces, stuff like that. Yeah. But at the same time, you got the Atlanta team who's been under fire all season long, underperforming. So I think that game's going to be great. I think Atlanta's going to get out of there with a 2-1 dub. I think they're actually going to go in there and beat Columbus. What about you? What are you thinking in that game?
I think there's actually clean sheet potential for Columbus here. I'm digging that defense. Zach Steffen's back in the mix.
Yeah.
I think they got one of the top 3 defenses in the whole league when they got their whole team in there, especially at home with the struggling Atlanta side. I mean, you never know when Joseph Martinez is going to knock in one.
Literally.
But, I mean, I think it'll be like I'm going to say 1-0 Columbus this week.
Okay. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's going to be a good game from just MLS straight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, just because all the storylines.
Yeah. And then moving into the that FCC versus Philly game, I think that's going to be another great game. Truth. You got FCC. I just saw that if they get another win, they'll actually set an MLS record for most points in the first however many games of a new franchise in MLS.
Dang.
So they're playing great already after their 4-1 actual waxing in week 1. Ever since then, they've just turned it around.
Yeah.
They played great last week with their quote B team with players missing, but then again, Philly started to play great last week too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's gonna be close. But I do think FCC will get away with a win. Maybe 2-1 is what I'll predict. I'll go with another 2-1 win.
I think it's going to be tough for anyone to go into Nippert this year, unless it's
that's what I'm saying.
Seattle, DC, maybe some of the top boys. I think every time FCC plays anyone mid-table or lower at home, I'm picking FCC to at least come out with a draw.
Yeah, at least a draw, yeah. Nippert's a fortress for them. They're going to have at least 25,000 just rocking for 90 minutes.
Truth. Are you lads?
Yeah, I like that.
Are you lads heading over to the match?
No, I'm not Saturday. It's supposed to be storming all day, and I'm not that tough of a fan. So I'll be watching from home while watching my fantasy team hopefully do good.
That's big. Yeah, any other matchups that you're looking at this week, lad?
I do like the Friday one. I think the Friday one will be fun. Toronto's back.
Yeah.
I think Toronto only played 2 games this week or this year. They've had 2 byes for some reason already.
Yeah.
And then that NYFC game, they've been playing so weird this season. So it'll be fun to see those 2 teams play, because that week 1 Toronto team was insane.
True.
And they didn't have Josie then. Now they'll have Josie back. Michael Bradley off of international duty. So who played great, by the way, in international duty. Michael Bradley balled out. Yeah. So I think that Friday game will be fun to watch.
I heard Nick DeLeon, my guy, might not start this week. So I'm
sick.
I'm kind of feeling a little sick as well about that. But if he's in that, keep an eye on the OTB Twitter, boys, because I'm going to be updating you on Nick DeLeon. I have a little love affair with my guy.
Yeah, that's been Brady's boy all year. But yeah, it's great to have a big slew of games back this week. And like we've said, don't forget that Friday night game. Toronto, New York FC, or New York NYCFC. You know what I mean.
There you go.
But anyway, that'll do it for episode 7. Thank you all for listening to On the Bounce podcast. If you're listening to us over on Podbean, our newest host, shout out to you. If you're listening to us on Spotify and iTunes, also shout out to you. It'd be great if you could follow and subscribe on all of those platforms or whichever one you're listening to. That would greatly help us out, and it's greatly appreciated. And without anything else to talk about, really, we've talked your ear off for about 30 minutes with just us two. Oh. Shout out to Josh Jarvis, R.I.P. him. He'll be back Tuesday. But that'll do it for On the Bounce. We will see you guys back here Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and hopefully you guys ball out in fantasy.
Let's go.
Deuces.